shortages, which are just commonplace. Everyone accepts that. My team in India asked me how often the power goes off in Australia. I cannot honestly tell you the last time the power went off in my house in Perth. It's been probably decades. So we have an assumption that we will always have good access to power, and India has a burning desire for more power infrastructure. So that's partly why NSL's strategy is focused on steel and power. So for me, my job in our organisation is to manage risk. And I wanted to draw the link between risk and skills development in these next few slides. I won't spend too much time talking through these, I'll get to the important parts. The Indian mining industry has about 5 lakh employees per annum. So that's about the number of employees that are in the industry. So an important number. Where things get concerning is the number of serious injuries and fatalities, sitting at around 180 to 200 fatalities per year in the minerals industry. To put things in perspective, last year in Australia, 0 fatalities in the mining industry. This year, unfortunately, there was 2 in Tasmania this week. But in general, we're sitting between 0 and 5 fatalities a year in a mining industry which is about 5 times the size of India's. Where it becomes personal for me is that when we look at the fatality incidence rates, by the end of next year, NSL will have 1,000 employees in Andhra Pradesh. That means I'll have an 85% chance of a fatality every year in my business. And that is completely unacceptable for us as a foreign country. We cannot come here and expect that with the current levels of skills, of oversight, of legislation, that we will accept the fact that someone will die in our business every year. So we have a real focus on skills development and behavioural competencies to make sure our workforce understands that is not acceptable. A couple of important things here. I'm going to focus really on the last one, but as any global company coming into India will have to appreciate, you also need to understand what is your board's risk appetite. So as an Australian company, we have a very low risk appetite. We will not tolerate any fatalities or injuries in our business. When we first came to India almost 5 years ago, we also had to understand the legal framework. What does a compliant business have to look like? Because that helps you understand what the minimum requirements are for any company entering into India. We also have projects in Australia and in India, and we have to have globally standard systems. We cannot have one system for India and one system for Australia. You cannot manage a global business like this. So things like training competencies, behavioural competencies must be set as a global standard, but then you have to take people on a journey to achieving that. And I will spend some time focusing on the 5th point, which is about the cultural complexities of working in a country like India. The first thing we've had issues with over the course of the last 4 to 5 years is actually the recruitment process. Australia has evolved to the stage now where recruitment really is behavioural recruitment. So you need to understand how people think and how they behave as opposed to the skills they have. Particularly, as I mentioned, with us in India, we are using technology that no one has been exposed to. So how can I source those skills in India anyway? I need to have people who are going to behave the right way. That's the key for us first. The second thing, which is an interesting observation for an Australian working in India, is that there are different risk tolerances in the country. I still, even driving here this morning, the first thing you do when you cross traffic, hand out and walking across 4 lanes of traffic. It's just common practice and everyone sees that. If you're in a mine site and your first action is to move or put your hand out, electricity will kill you. A conveyor belt will rip your arm off. These are the kind of behaviours that you need to be looking for when you're recruiting staff.